Welcome to Prima's Pod, the podcast where two Latina cousins unpack culture, conditioning, and the stories we inherited, and decide what we're keeping. We're your hosts, Carla.
And Rosangelica, and we talk real life, navigating corporate America, relationships, motherhood, identity, and what it looks like to stop outsourcing our power and start owning our choices.
I'm Carla, a somatic guide and inner process facilitator who believes awareness creates choice.
And I'm Rosangelica, a corporate leader and life coach, passionate about conscious leadership and personal responsibility. This is a space for reflection, truth telling, and remembering that we're more powerful than we were taught to believe. Hello. So the question is, who are we?
It's a good question.
It's a great question.
So many ways we could go.
So when we think about who are we, it's who we were, who we are, what we're morphing into. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
And I think I think that you and I can both agree is that we are who we are in this present moment because it's definitely been a journey to get to where we are to be who we are. So I think that that's one of the deepest question. It's, who are we and what are we doing on this platform?
Yeah, exactly. And why should anybody listen to what we have to say?
True.
Fair question.
Fair question. I think that we have very relatable stories in so many ways. I would really like to talk about kind of like the really fun fact about how you and I are real primas.
We're real
Um,
famous. Since the
the
1970s. Oh my gosh.
güerita with the really beautiful eyes that look like a muñequitas, that looks like a muñequita. That was my prima. And this started way um, in La Presa Rodriguez
TJ, Tijuana.
In
Sí,
Tijuana.
yes.
So my prima and I, we've known each like obviously we're like since we were babies, but we kind of connected when we were little girls. And then of course for me it was family, divorce, separation, being brought here into California, even though we were closer in California because she was always Carla, you've always been here in California. Um,
Yeah.
divorce actually, I mean, the distance, we were close in distance, but we really didn't interact for 35 plus years, you know?
That, that sounds about right. Yeah. So, like, background is our dads are brothers. They're
Hmm.
the two oldest brothers
Yep.
of a family of seven. Yes.
Yep.
Five men, two women. Um, and yes, so my dad came to LA when he got married, like 5 years before I was born. So I was born in LA. But like in the Latino culture, like family is everything. And so for us, like I might have grown up in LA, but every weekend was spent in TJ or on the other side of the border in San Diego with my other side of the family. But every weekend, that was just our routine. Saturday morning, you get in the car and you drive, the 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get down there. And that was so I saw you every weekend.
Yeah.
I was there before you arrived because I'm a little older.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah. So good memories of
Very
growing
good memories.
up together. And then, yeah, how old were you when you came to SoCal?
8 years old. My mom and dad, I still remember the day that when we crossed and we were legal. We crossed legally. We didn't climb any mountains or anything like that. But I remember when we came. I remember I had to leave everything behind though. We literally just brought clothes, and I was not allowed to bring any single toys
Mm,
because it couldn't really look like we're coming to stay. And my mom's family, which my grandma and all her sisters, they were all here. So they were kind of the ones that were really, really telling my mom there's much better opportunity. It's, convinced my mom to just come over here. And my mom and my dad agreed. But I think that that was like the beginning of the end for them as a relationship when my
Mm,
mom kind of reconnected with her family here, and I think that that's what eventually led to the divorce.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, 8 years old. It's like, it's a lot.
Yeah, I
Knew
still
everything.
remember.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, but I think that one of the big factors about what really, really brings us here, and I think both of our passion, even though we didn't see each other for 35 plus years,
Mhm.
reconnected on almost a 10-day spree of me going into Spain to spend some
Hmm.
time. And it was like we had never been separated. It was
Yeah.
like it was like the connection, the love, the just, just the journey I think that we've been on. And I think
Yeah.
that one of our biggest connection became the work that we've had to do to break away from so much. And I
Hmm.
think that that was very, very impactful for me. That just kind of like I felt like there was like, like I was like somebody understands me. But I
Hmm.
think we've come to realize that our stories are not, I think our stories are very, very common more than we even think.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. For sure. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. So last year was the first time we connected like in real life again. In, like you said, 35 years. Even though we did connect, but it was more virtually during the pandemic, right?
Yep,
We connected.
absolutely. We
And
started kind of communicating, connecting. Yeah.
then yeah, I moved to Spain like 3.5 years ago, and I'm representing this. I live in the northeastern part of Spain, Catalonia. This is Valentine's Day, and this says "I love you" in Catalan. Estimo.
Yes.
Yeah, people don't realize there's other languages that people speak here in Spain. But yeah, there's four
Mm.
official languages, and this is one of them. So, and that's one of the
Yeah.
big that I'm here. But I'm really glad you came to visit me for what was it, 10 days or something, 9, 10 days.
Hmm.
So much fun. Is it you like you said? It's like we never. It's like we just picked right back up where we left off when we were kids.
Yeah.
We share everything, right? We share memory.
DNA.
Yeah, DNA. Yeah, I was gonna say an abuela.
Hmm.
You guys
And
call her Nana.
abuela.
You
Yeah.
you guys all called her Nana, I think.
Yeah.
I was the only kid who had a different name for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was, I mean, interesting enough, I have very limited memories of La Presa in Tijuana, and, some not so good, but memories with my grandma were just like there's these small glimpse of her. I used to stay the night at her house. I would like bug, and the only whenever she'd ask me like, "Oh, you want to stay the night over?" and I would say yes, and I would tell her, "Can I brush your hair
And she had
when after you take a
long hair.
shower?" Yes,
And she
she had
always wore it in
long.
a bun. You
Yes,
you only saw it down at night.
I was the only one that saw it down.
Mhm.
And so I remember, I don't know what I honestly thought I was going to be a hairstylist because I loved hair. Like I just loved to brush, and I would ask her, "Can I brush your hair?" And my grandma would say, "Yes, you can brush my hair." And
Yes,
I
mija.
would
Sí, mija.
yes, "Sí, mija. Sí, mija." And I would just like brush her hair, and she'd make me hot chocolate with bolillo.
Okay, wait, wait,
That
wait. I have to ask you, hot chocolate, is it abuela or Ibarra? Which one is your favorite?
It was abuela.
It was abuela, right?
It was abuela. And I
Hmm.
just remember she would have her little spoon and she's like kind of like stir. Now we're cheaters. Now we buy the electric ones, like
What was that show that the millennials, because our kids are millennials, which is something else we're going to talk about on here. I can't remember which show it was where they used to say bate, bate, chocolate. ¿Te acuerdas?
my kids will probably remember. My memory gets worse and worse as I get older.
It's like my kid remembers that, my daughter.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But my kids, I think that the hot chocolate is also such something so soothing and so calming. Um, because I also saw my mom start to do it with my kids when she was like being a grandma, it was kind of like my boys were like, "Oh, hot chocolate." I think that that just becomes something a little bit of a trademark for, I think the nanas or the grandmas, like where they want to make, they make their little hot chocolate and it just kind of bond with you while you're drinking your
That's a
coffee before you go to bed.
that's a thing now, right? Like everyone's doing these cacao ceremonies now. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I I went to where did I go? Oh, at the Dominican. I bought cacao in the Dominican because it's like organic and it's so clean. And I verified that I can bring it over and I wasn't going to get arrested through TSA. But I brought some cacao from because of how good it tastes. The other thing that I found out because my grandma from my mom's side of the family was like she was mixed Hungarian and Aztec Indian. So my grandma was kind of what people would call her as a curandera. So we used to
Mm.
jokingly say it was a joke, but we'd be like, "Oh, she's a witch of the block," because everybody would bring their kids and she would heal everybody.
That's
But
funny.
one of the things that we know how many properties are, of course, organic milk. I think it would be equivalent to organic milk now because there was no like preservatives and the milks were different. But there's so many healing properties in milk that you don't realize why they would incorporate it. Like if they made us coffee, us kids, it
Yeah.
was with milk, you
Yeah.
know?
When you say organic, you're talking like raw milk, right? Like
Yeah, like raw milk.
non-pasteurized. Because
Yeah,
that kills all of the good stuff when we
yeah,
that's what yeah.
yeah.
Don't even get me
Oh,
started
I
on this
know, I
subject.
know.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference of what we drink now, of the milk that exists now, but we didn't realize, like, why they would incorporate it. I mean, I don't know if you know, but whenever somebody has an allergic reaction, the first thing they tell you is, like, "Drink a whole glass of milk." Just, like,
Oh,
down the milk.
yeah, wait, did we talk about this? It's like it's somebody told me about this where it's like it can help cleanse the body like
Mhm.
yeah, of toxins. Hmm.
Yeah. It helps kind of, like, stop or slow the allergic reaction. I mean, you should still get to a doctor, we're no experts, but
No, we are not here to give you medical advice, God
we're
forbid.
not giving medical advice. I'm telling you, like if I share my grandma's remedies, you guys, they were my grandma's remedies, and I'm just simply sharing a story. I by no means am I the expert. Did they work on my children? Because I trusted her wholeheartedly. Absolutely. I definitely saw the good things about it.
Yeah. So cool.
Hmm.
So cool. So, okay, back to the question, who are we? So this is where we came from. Yeah, and we grew up in SoCal. And then, I mean, we can fast forward a bunch of years. Like we were living parallel lives the whole time and
Yes,
without knowing it,
without
right?
knowing it. Absolutely. We
We
had
were
our kids around the same time
yeah, we were
because
young moms.
we were young moms, very
Yep.
young moms.
Yep. And then and what else? I mean, working in corporate America also, which I used to do, up until
Yep.
a certain point. And then also,
I'm still in corporate America. I'm
yes,
still here.
yes, you are. You're still here. You're still here. I defected. I defected, but I'm now in Spain. There's no
No, but
corporate
you're doing
America.
wonderful things. You're
There's
doing
no corporate
wonderful things,
America in
Prima.
Spain.
There's
Wow.
no corporate America in Spain.
Not remotely, I guess there could be, but no, there isn't for me. And then in our, I don't even know if I want to say how old we are, but I mean, we'll just say we're Gen X. Can we say that?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
enough.
For Gen
But
X.
around the same time, we got interested in coaching. I think we each started a coaching program around the same time, or we were
Yes.
around the same age, which
Yes.
is, yeah, again, I don't feel like talking about my age right now. But
But yeah.
so you got interested in coaching. I got interested in coaching, life coaching. Let me be more clear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mine is life coaching. I got and I did it because I had been going through so much. And for the record, life coaching, it's so much inner work that also led me into therapy, like a little bit more intense therapy for sure, because it's a lot of layers to peel away to really, really kind of get to the to the core of who you are and in the way that you want to navigate and the way that you want to work with others. But the work you have to do it yourself in order for it to see the impact of it. and I think that that was very, very impactful.
So but you started therapy kind of around the same time, right? So you did it in parallel.
I did it a little bit when my kids were little,
Okay.
because when I broke up with the father of my kids, and he was like my sweetheart, the love of my life, since, I met him since I was like 10, 11 years old, because he was very
Mhm.
close to our family. But when I split with him and my kids were really little, and I had two boys, two wonderful, beautiful human beings right now, but those, when I was so afraid, I knew what divorce did to me, and I was so afraid of for them. Like, I'm like, okay, I have to make men. I have to raise men. How do I do this? Um, Interesting enough, I didn't really resort automatically to like, oh, what's my mom gonna tell me to do? Because I was always already rebelling. Like, okay, I'm not gonna do what she did here. I'm not gonna do what I kind of was already in that mindset, but I really, because I was so young. I mean, I had my son at 19, my oldest. So I took my boys into therapy with me,
Mm,
um, to
family
kind
therapy.
of, yeah, and it was more, but it was more parenting. It wasn't really guided towards me. It
Okay.
was more kind of how to communication styles, and how to, because two boys, and my boys are extremely close, but they're two completely different human beings.
Hmm.
And so communication on how to get them to do certain things, one of them worked this way, the other one worked the total opposite way. So
Yeah.
but that was never work that I had done for me. It was more for the boys.
Were you in your 20s then when you did that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about this? Because so I started therapy way later in life. Like I didn't do it like kind of at the same time that I was learning about coaching. So I also did a life coaching program called Deep Coaching, based on the Enneagram of personality. If anybody listening knows what that is, which is just it's a framework for different universal archetypes. But I didn't start therapy until 5 years after that.
Wow.
And I think it's because our generation, it wasn't so common. Like definitely our parents, the boomers, they didn't do therapy like that, hardly. I mean, rare. And so it wasn't modeled for us that this was like normal. Like now, our kids' generation's totally normal. Everybody goes to therapy if they can afford it.
Mhm.
It's just very normalized. There's no stigma. There's no stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
In our generation, I think it was more like, oh, you go to therapy? Like, what's wrong? You must have a really serious problem or whatever. No, I don't know what people would imagine, but there was some shame around it, I guess, is what I'm saying, or some reluctance to also, okay, forget the shame, because I don't think for me, it wasn't that. For me, it was more of like this very like independent, like, I can do this by myself. I don't need help. I don't know if
Yeah.
that resonates with you. Like, I can figure this out. Like, I don't need to pay someone to listen to me. Like, I can figure it out on my own. I'll read the
One.
book, listen to the podcast. Like, I don't need somebody else I don't need to pay money to do this.
But I also think that it's a way of masking, because I feel like the way that I kind of push through like the really most like difficult times for me, it was always kind of by adding something else on my plate, by focusing on something else, by like pushing myself somewhere else. So it was like, you never really, like, I realized that I never was processing, that my pushing through things was just trying to find ways to mask everything that I wasn't processing. So but and then I think the stigmatisms too, like I did hear people that are in therapy, or if somebody says like, "Oh, they're going to a psychologist, están locos, they're crazy." Like
You hear
like,
that?
"Oh, yes.
Like from who? Like from your
Yes.
tias, or who said
Yes." Like
that?
just even like my mom, my tias, like it was kind of like, "Oh, they must be crazy." Like, "Oh, like it's somebody that has really severe mental health." Like it
Yeah.
was kind of like, even my dad, it's just kind of like, oh, like therapy, like, and it wouldn't say therapy. It was just like psychologist equals crazy. That's
Shrink.
it.
The shrink. What are they
Yeah,
calling that?
the
Head
shrink.
shrinkers, right? It's
Yeah.
like a joke, you know? Oh my God.
And that was a little bit so I would hear like I was like, "Oh, that's for crazy people." So
Yeah.
it's kind of in your mind, like not realizing that, it's a lot of the things that we do, we sometimes don't know how to compartmentalize, we don't know how to process. We mask and we mask and we mask until sometimes, the channels just open.
So that what you said, what you're saying about masking, and you also use the word pushing, and that resonates a lot for me. So I don't know if this is part of our DNA or it's just very human. This is very human, right? And I've been writing about this kind of behavior too lately on Substack.
Follow
Um,
her.
yeah, thanks. But it's true that like that was my experience that I obviously wasn't doing this consciously, but I was using busyness as a mask, like you said, and it's like they're distractions. I mean, we're always going to have distractions, right? But sometimes if you focus really hard on like your work, for example, and then you get into this workaholic mode or whatever, and it's like it's kind of cool, you because you forget about everything else when you're in that zone. And so it gives you
Mhm.
something to focus on that's not that's actually productive, that's actually positive, that's not going to take you to a dark place. I remember thinking that because I mean, like any hormonal 20 something or 30 something year old, right? I have my ups and downs, all the time. But it's like I also have a job that I need to do and a paycheck to earn and, a kid to feed and all of those things. And so I remember thinking, like, yeah, sometimes I would feel like sadness or something heavy. And then I would just be like, I don't have time for this right now.
Right.
Like, this can wait. Like, this is not a priority. And so, like, I don't have time to be sad. I don't have time to be depressed.
Mhm.
So I don't, I think that's probably very relatable. And we just stay.
100%. I even ask myself, like, I was raising 2 kids by myself in my early 20s. I became single, by the age of 24 with
Mm,
my boys. I I started living with the father of my kids, like, after I had the baby, and so I was, like, 19, and by 24, it was like I couldn't. Um, there was some addiction problems there, but in the 5 years, like, I thought I can fix him, and that's a little bit of the ego that's like, "I'm gonna fix him, I'm gonna fix him, I'm gonna fix him," until it came to a point where it was like either I'm gonna save and I'm gonna raise good sons, or I'm gonna, have all my energy on trying to save somebody.
mm.
And I think that was instrumental for me, but raising 2 boys, we always lived on our own. I didn't go back home to mom. That was a you guys will eventually hear, but my I was so independent. I was so like, I have to do this. And thankfully I had a decent job, but I still lived paycheck to paycheck. But I
Well,
think
didn't we all?
I
Didn't we?
know, right? It just
The
it's
American
the
reality.
American, yeah, I was here doing the American dream, but the one thing that I'm very grateful for is that I had the opportunity where the company that I was working for was offering financial aid, where where they were offering financial aid, and I was talking to my mom about it, and she said, "Just do it. Like,
For
I'm young
education.
enough
For
for
education.
education."
Okay.
But and I think about, and I did earn my bachelor's, but I think about it's like, how the hell did I do that with 2 young children? Like, I don't even know where I had the strength. I do remember being up till 3, 4 in the morning writing papers, doing homework, waking up at 6 in the morning, getting the boys ready, dropping them off at daycare, going to work, going to school at night, because back then there was no onlines. I still don't even know how the hell I was doing it, but I also do think that me being preoccupied, let's say, was a way of me kind of like covering up a lot of the like, "Oh my god, I feel like I'm drowning." And I did have the breakdowns. I tried to quit school several times. And thankfully my mom's like, She would say, "You're just making excuses. You're putting in your own obstacles.
Mm,
look at all the things that you do have. You have me, you have family that helps." And
yeah.
so
Help with
I
the
had I
babysitting and stuff sometimes when you're in class. Yeah, for sure. I
yeah,
couldn't have raised, and I was not a single mom. I was actually married, but still, we were both working all the time.
yeah,
So without grandparents, four of them in my case on both sides, like to help with the babysitting, and not just them, my brother too.
mhm.
He raised my kid on the weekends sometimes, you
Oh,
know.
my brothers too. Yeah, same thing. Like my brothers were very much my brother became a very much like an instrumental father figure for my boys too. Like my brothers were definitely very, very involved with the boys. So like I always had their support and as they were raised. But I think, going back to kind of what brings us here, I think that there's so many relatable stories that I think a lot of people can connect with,
Mhm.
and I think that our passion for the way that we've overcome so much in the same way that I think it's the same way that we want to try to help others, because I don't think that our stories are, are I don't think our stories are just our stories. I think there's people that are living it right now.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, like there's something in us in the human spirit too. Like we can work really hard and be very ambitious and push and do all these things and also achieve a good amount of like success financially, right? And then still that doesn't mean everything's perfect, right? Sometimes
Right.
that comes at a cost, especially
Absolutely.
if you're not paying attention because
I,
you're
and
just
I think that I think that I think that that's part of it. That's definitely I think that our success, it we sacrificed a lot to get to where we're at, but even with all the sacrifices that everything that we've had to push through, you know, I think that for me, one of the biggest things that I had to break free from was a lot of like the programming, the
Mhm.
limited belief system was kind of the fibers in me, like the way that I was raised. And it made me realize that, you know, it's, it, I can see that happening with other people. I can see that people just don't, you don't believe in yourself because sometimes the only attention that we ever got was kind of negative reinforcement. We were acknowledged only for everything that we did wrong.
Right.
And so we kind of lived trying to meet somebody else's expectations, and it was never really good enough. So I think that programming, you start realizing, especially entering corporate America,
Hmm.
because when you have really crappy bosses, oh, they're just going to take advantage of your hard work. And
Mm.
and unfortunately, because you're already accustomed to per se getting negative reinforcement, when you have crappy bosses, it's a little bit of a comfort zone. You just deal with it, but you still do what you have to do, and that's why we are great, great freaking workers. That's why I think that but then when you have the really good leaders, and thankfully I have a handful of those that
Yeah.
were like amazing leaders that would start acknowledging me and saying like, wow, like you're awesome at this.
Mm.
You are doing great. This is, and started pointing out my leadership qualities.
That was new
And
for you, right? That's something you didn't get growing up. That's no, that's yeah.
and that like I never looked at myself like, oh, I want to be a leader, I want to be a boss, and I want to do this, I want to do that. I didn't. I had a decent job that allowed me some flexibility, that I was able to be very present with my voice with. I was really thankful to the industry where I was doing so great at. I great negotiator. Like I was out there kicking butt, and I was getting constant acknowledgement. They would always give me the new people to train. But at the same token, it's like I didn't see myself as somebody being at the table with leadership
I was gonna
until
say, yeah. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say until, other leaders,
No,
and also the women that I started surrounding myself with. They had something to do with it. I have some amazing, amazing
I don't
women
know.
around me too.
I don't know if this is a female thing or a Latino thing, but I think we tend to downplay our strengths. Like, oh, you don't want to seem arrogant,
Hmm.
you know?
Or you have to stay humble. Always make sure you stay humble. Like,
So like when people started giving you positive feedback and complimenting you on your strengths and your leadership qualities, like I don't know about you because I've gotten positive feedback about my work too, but my first thought is like, oh yeah, yeah, thanks, but I was
yeah,
embarrassed by it. I was almost embarrassed
yeah,
by the attention or
yeah,
something. Weird.
yeah,
Especially because you were probably noticing you were sorry, how do I say this? You are who you are. I know you. You're strong, and so I'm sure this happened early in your career that you
yeah,
started getting noticed and started getting positive feedback. You were probably young. You were probably in your 20s already when this was
yeah,
starting. And so it's like awkward. It's like, oh,
yeah,
thanks, but you look
yeah,
sort of embarrassed. Like, I don't
yeah.
know. What is
Yeah,
that?
it's
What is
yeah,
that about?
you downplay it. You don't wanna it's like no te creas muy, like don't
Yes.
think you're all that.
There
Like,
you go. Yeah.
hello, don't think that you're all that just because somebody said that to you. That's your own mind saying that to you. That
Right.
is your own mind downplaying something, and that is something that just it really, really I'm like, why did what I it started happening that acknowledgement started happening for me very, very young, but I really didn't start valuing myself until, like, my later 30s,
There you go.
going into my 40s, and that is where I think that we're very, very passionate about as mothers of millennials, is that there's a younger generation that really can feel like that maybe doesn't even feel because of the way of the world, that don't really, really feel like, well, whatever I do, it's doomsday because, I can't afford a house in the United States of America. Like we're all screwed. But
Right.
there's so much power that we have yet to tap into. And I
Yeah.
think that that's where you and I are very passionate about.
For sure. Like when you said that, like the first thing that came to mind in my brain was just like this rebellious, like says who, like says who you can't do that. Like I get to decide what,
Yep.
and yeah, it's a topic that is super like I'm passionate about too, is what you were saying about the conditioning and the beliefs that it's like we come into this world, right? We're born into a family. This is all we know. This is our whole universe. Our parents are our gods. This is
Yep.
it. It's the author of the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. He describes it. I don't know if it's in that book or in another book. I think it's in another book, but he describes that conditioning, that coming into this world, that being born into a family, not just a family, but into a culture where our parents got passed down all this stuff generations, you know, earlier. And this reality that we, each of us, is boom, here we are. Hello, I'm a human now, right? And it's like the parents, I mean, it sounds really dark, but it's true. The parents are now feeding their little babies their particular dream of hell. Like, welcome
Yeah.
to my dream of hell. And it is, why is it hell? Because it's like, it's full of garbage. It's full of all this nonsense that isn't true, but they believe it. Our parents believed it, and so they taught it to us. Things like, children should be seen and not heard, as an example. And we talked about this
Mhm.
the other day. This,
The calladita más bonita,
yeah,
which is very popular in the Latin culture,
yeah,
which is very misogynistic, like women don't speak up. Women are quiet. Women are there to smile and just play nice. And that's I think that I know for sure my family would tell you that I definitely broke through those barriers. I was
you
a very
exactly.
much
Speak your mind.
I I've always tended to speak my mind, and I think what happened for me, it was like you're little and you're being told like, oh, honesty, honesty, and you got to be honest, and you got to be honesty, and honesty and integrity and character and all that is good. But you start realizing when you start calling things out as you see them, all of a sudden honesty is no longer appreciated. All of a sudden honesty is no longer part of the plan, and you start becoming the bad person for
Hmm.
being honest.
I admire this about you a lot. Like, and you have always been like that. I remember, it's like you're direct, you're outspoken, and there's a part of me that has that, but I remember specific moments when I was little where I was, more direct, and I
Yeah.
got in trouble for it. I got in big trouble for it. Esto no se hace. And
Yeah.
even just like a look from my dad.
Yeah.
Well, the look was enough to like, okay, cállate. Don't
Yeah.
stop. And okay. And so I learned to like be more invisible. Like, okay, don't make waves, don't piss people off. But still it's in me. So it would come out once in a while.
Yeah. But I
But
I think it is in because even with me, and I know that we'll eventually get into a lot of storytelling, you guys, because we have stories that we want you to connect with that I think that are gonna be impactful. But like I feared my mom. Like one look from my mom, like I would go to birthday parties and I would sit there with my pretty dress and they would say, "Oh, come and play with us." And I remember very specifically that I was scared to play with my cousins and the little kids because I was like, okay, if one of them cries or somebody falls, I'm going to get blamed. And that's going to be a really badass whooping. So I just rather sit here and do nothing and not play. And that I would be fearful to play because if something goes awry with kids, and anything can go awry with kids, I felt like I would be in trouble for it. Somehow, some way I was gonna get in trouble and I would get my ass whooped. So I I was very, very scared. But I think that fear eventually turned a little bit into rebelliousness. And we'll get into that because, when you teach a child, like eventually that child, if you only know fear, 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 it gets to the point where you're like, okay, well, you're gonna whoop my ass and so what? And that's kind of where
mm,
that kind of was born from.
yeah, because I mean, babies, even like early on, we're so adaptive. We're gonna adapt to our environment, and so like we can speak, right? We get the we
Yeah.
get the message. We get the message that what's okay, what's not okay in this family, and just by observing, and it's by design. I think what we kids don't usually speak for at least a year, right, or maybe longer,
Yeah.
and but all that time we're just watching, we're just listening, you know, and we're picking up what's going on, and
We pick
then
up the cues.
and then we play by those rules because it's
Yeah.
more important to stay in connection. Gabor
Uh,
Mate writes about this. But yeah, the connection is more important than my truth. So I'll
yeah.
just be
Well,
good.
because your family is your everything. They're every
Yeah,
fiber of you. Like
yeah,
my cat, your family is everything. They're every fiber of you. So you really, at the end of the day, even if I would rebel a little bit, it's like I knew that I couldn't do any, like my family was everything. My family is your tribe. They're part of you. So, there's definitely, a lot to unpack there because, you can acknowledge certain things about family, but then at the same token, they're just like, but I love them.
of
And
course,
how do we navigate that?
of course, of course. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, primis.
Yes. I think that this is who we are. And
This is who we
yeah,
are,
this
and
is who we are right now because
right,
it's an evolution.
every dang day, it's an evolution. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Hmm. I'm excited.
Yes. All right.
Thanks, Prima.
It's okay.
Take a quick moment to notice what stood out as you were listening today and where you might have more choice than you thought. If you enjoyed what we shared here, consider subscribing to the show so you don't miss out on future conversations.
And if this conversation stirred something for you and you're curious about working with one of us, reach out. You'll find our WhatsApp QRs in the episode video, or you can DM us on Instagram at carla.presence or Rosangelica Life Coach.
Until next time, primas.